Good afternoon, everybody. Freelance Teacher here. Doug Marola at thefreelanceteacher.com, tfttravelgroup.com. Just want to talk to you briefly about free speech. It's in the news a lot lately, and you see very strange statements about free speech online, social media, mainstream media, even the alternative media starts to get confused, it looks like, at times about what free speech is. And if you take a look at history, once you see people starting to limit free speech on whatever grounds they choose, you start to have government tyranny. You start to have a group of people at the top of the pyramid who have decided what you can and cannot say. And then if you say something that they don't like, you get punished. It could be a fine, could be jail time. In extreme circumstances, it's death. But there are no exceptions. Once you have the beginning of, free speech counts for just about everything except this, you start to have problems. And you're having it in Europe now with hate speech. Before I get more into that, though, let me quickly tell you that you have the rumblings of it here in the United States. And if you look at the Constitution, which is a flawed but solid document, bit of legislation, the First Amendment, and they wrote it this way for a reason, it says Congress shall make no law, and then it talks about inhibiting free speech. So what that means is there can be no laws that inhibit free speech at the federal level. So when people start talking about, hate speech is different, who start to think of these things, and this is what I tell students, think them through. If they can, meaning government officials, determine what hate speech is, it's dependent upon them. It's their opinion. And what may be seen as quote unquote so-called hate speech now, either that won't be hate speech later, or imagine this. You could have a group of people in government who are completely opposite of what you believe. And they say, if you talk about these topics, then that's hate speech and you should be punished. And they don't care what you think. It doesn't matter what you think. It matters what they think. And that's why when I was on the left, we would never be so stupid as the left is today. How are you going to talk about limiting free speech? You have a Republican president. The majority of governors in the country by far are Republican. The House of Representatives is vastly Republican. And the Senate is nominally Republican. I think it's 52-48, something like that. 53-47, something. So people are agitating to get rid of free speech. Like they're anti-free speech. You had thousands of people in Boston and they were marching against free speech. I've never seen anything so idiotic in my entire life. And I'm 45. I've seen a lot of nonsense. And they're, okay, so you mad? These people are so mindless. I can't get over it. Let's get rid of free speech. And, who's the only person who has a monopoly on violence and can arbitrate and decide what the definition of speech, free speech, hate speech? The only people who can do that by force and make you follow the rules is government. Exxon isn't going to tell you what free speech is. Starbucks isn't going to tell you what free speech is with any kind of punishment. They can suggest things, but Starbucks can't put handcuffs on you and throw you in a cage, but the government can. So how are these people agitating for being against free speech? And in this political climate, it makes no sense at all. I was a Democrat liberal for a very long time, and at no time would we have been like these collection of imbeciles going up against free speech now. That's just mindless. But it also doesn't make any sense. It's also against freedom. When you talk about civil rights, people should have the right to speak freely. No matter how awful or offensive those views are. If someone has extremely offensive views, and there are plenty of offensive views out there, then your job as a person with a backbone and some strength is to either to tell them, look, I don't want to hear from you, I'm going to ignore you, tell them they're wrong, get into a debate, walk the other way, defriend, unfriend, never speak with. There are a lot of things to do. This current trend of, you see this on campus a lot. I'm uncomfortable with the way things are. I don't like those views. I'm going to go to the big shots and I'm going to make demands that they make it better. Another thing that's new to me as a person formerly of the left, man, we weren't interested in asking the president of the university to change the rules so that we would be more comfortable and so that we could have what we wanted. That person was an authority figure. I was raised on the real left. Question authority. Buck the trend. Don't trust anyone over 30. Now you have people petitioning government. You have these agitator groups at the universities occupying the president's office to make things better, running to daddy to make it better. Just terrible, just ridiculous, which is why I think somebody like Paul Joseph Watson has the right idea when he says that libertarianism and conservatism are the new counterculture. Because in my younger days, the left was the countercultural. You had a very Republican, corporate-controlled, top of the pyramid power group steering the ship. And now you don't, right? If you're a conservative or a libertarian, good luck getting a job, good luck getting a forum, good luck getting anything in academia or Hollywood or in business with what we see with Google, with them firing James Damore. Good luck, right? You are now counterculture. Paul Joseph Watson is right. You are counterculture if you're a libertarian or conservative. And if you're a well-read libertarian, you're a Tom Woods, Murray Rothbard reader, you pay attention to Ayn Rand's work, you pay attention to Isabel Patterson or Zora Neale Hurston, people with very libertarian leanings, and the people at Mises.org who talk about these things economically, if you're one of those people, you're way out there. You're really counterculture. You're really attacking the system, which was a term that we used back in the old days if you were a person on the rabble-rousing, regular person, working man left. So things have really changed, and the anti-free speech stuff is disappointing, to say the least, and dangerous, to say the most. But the last thing I need you to be aware of, and these are things I'll tell my students when school starts up again in September, is you should notice that the mainstream corporate media, these are not people who are your friends, by the way. These are very wealthy, powerful people. They don't live like we live. They don't sit in their car because it's the only soundless place I have and do podcasts. They've got zillion-dollar studios to do their dirty work. The mainstream corporate media is now moving heaven and earth to equate free speech with some kind of like pro-Nazi, rabid, white supremacist fringe movement. Right? They're really working overtime to equate free speech. If you're for free speech, oh, well, that must mean you're one of these white nationalist types who march in Charlottesville and are just completely out there and extremist and, weirdos. And it tells you a lot that they're doing that. And I think it bodes ill for young people if you don't start paying attention to what your masters, for lack of a better word, want you to think. Right? They want you to think. Remember, I told you this before, and I've told parents, I've told students this, I've told friends, the battle is for the young minds of the country. Right? They don't want a free, independent thinking population. Because then you don't need the government. You don't need anybody. You can do things on your own. You can defend yourself. You can get good food. You can raise a family. You can read. They don't want anything. They want you sick, stupid, broke, and afraid. And so if you're not free to say what you want, and here's the bigger bit of damage. If people who have great ideas and are well spoken and convincing and can debate and swat away other people's ideas, if they are unfree to share their ideas with you, or if you're an adult to share ideas with you and your children, that's a real shame. And think about the people who you respect, that if they're not mainstream, they would be shut out. They'd be shut down. They would be silenced and censored because their ideas don't fit the paradigm. And that's really the main danger. Those people will be quiet by force, and you won't be able to hear them, right? You're seeing this in Europe now. Hate speech, people getting arrested left and right for things they put on social media. Very dangerous. Take Europe and write it off. Throw it in the toilet. It's over. But we don't need to be like that. And I think you as a young person need to start saying free speech, however offensive, should be free. Case closed.